Hi, my name is Jens. I have made this small overview of the project management methods called PRINCE2. Uh, just 2 seconds about myself. I work as a senior project manager in a software company, and I have been working with the IT projects for about 15 years. The last 9 years as a project manager, and before that I did software development. I was certified as a PRINCE2 practitioner 5 years ago, and I've just taken my recertification. So now I'm going to share my knowledge with the world. So what is PRINCE2? It's an acronym for Projects in Controlled Environment. It was released in the last century, and it's actually produced in the UK from an organization called OGC, and it's used in a lot of places, especially in the UK. It's used for what it was designed for UK government departments, but it's also used in the United Nations. And I come from Denmark, and I know that it's used in a lot of government departments in Denmark, and it's also used in private companies. Okay, this slide is actually made for giving a bit of overview of what is ODC actually doing. They make best practice guidance, and you can see down here is PRINCE2. And there's a lot of other stuff that fits nicely together with PRINCE2. I know something about ITIL here. It's processes for making or operating IT operations. I've taken 2 certifications in that, and for example, they have something for change management, and it fits perfectly together with the configuration management that they talk about here in PRINCE2. So what's a project? It introduces change, it's temporary, and it's cross-functional, it's unique, and it brings uncertainty. That's the PRINCE2 definition, and I think it's really good. I can remember when I first was introduced to projects, we had some consultants coming into where I worked. I work in a research and development department making software for wind turbines, and they told us that a project has a start and an end, and that's the temporary part here. And I think like the cross-functional is also good to have in mind, because if it's not cross-functional, you might not need a project manager, because if it's just a job that's done by the same people in the same office in the same department, they can just maybe they can manage the job themselves, maybe the normal manager can manage it. And then the unique part here, it's very often something that has not been done before. You don't have a fixed manual on how to do it. And then when it's unique, of course you add uncertainty. Here's the PRINCE2 definition of it. It also introduces a very important word, products, and that is because they don't talk so much about work. They talk more about products. Of course, you need to do some work to produce the products, but they focus on the products, and then they also focus on the business case. Let's move to the next slide here. So what does PRINCE2 control? It control time, cost, and scope, and that was also what I learned on the first project management courses that I took, and it was a big eye-opener to me that was 3 variables that I need to control, and that they were related. So I have tried many times that the customer came and said to me, like it was just an internal customer, so that it wasn't so strictly managed. But can you please also do this? And then I said, as the nice guy I was, of course I can do that. But I forgot to tell the customer that then the product or the project will be finished some days later. So it's really important to remember that when you change one of these three variables, you will also change the other ones. But Prince2 adds some more variables, and they come here. Quality. Some would say that it's part of the scope, because the scope is something of a certain quality, but they take it out here as a separate thing that you have to control. And then they also have risk, and finally benefit. Here's how Prince2 think about controlling things. You make a plan, then you delegate it, then you monitor how the work is going, and then you do some controlling, and maybe you have to make a new plan, and then you do this all the time. And here's finally the definition of project management from Prince2. And the last words you can see here, I've highlighted them. That's the performance target, as they call the variables that I just talked about. Okay, I will move on to the content of Prince2. You can show it in this very, very simple way. It's just 7 principles, 7 themes, 7 processes, and then there's an appendix with some really good templates. So that's all there is to it. On the next slides here, I will just quickly run through it all. Here's the 7 principles. The first one is continued business justifications, and that actually means that you should never run a project unless you have a updated business case. If the business case is not good, or it changes so it's no longer good, the project should be stopped. And number 2 is learn from experience, and I think this is a really good one. The first education I got on project management, that was like at the end of the project you will do an evaluation, and that would be it. If you look in the Prince2 manual, every time you start to produce a plan, you have to learn to seek lessons learned. You have to ask other people what have they done it before, or if you have a corporate log of lessons learned, you have to look into this. For example, if you're doing a certain type of project, there might be certain lessons learned that would be good to incorporate in your project. And then you actually, in the documents that you produce, there is a headline saying lessons learned incorporated, to remind you that you have to fill something in there. Number 3 is defined roles and responsibilities. It's also always easier to get something done if everybody knows who's doing what. And then number 4 is managed by stages, and that's, I think most of you have heard about it before, but you divide the project up into some stages, and then the project board gets a plan for the next stage, and then the project manager gets the authority to execute that stage, and then he has to go back to the board to get a new approval to continue. And then there's management by exception. When the first time I took the certification, this was really something I thought was really good, because it really lets the project manager get on with his work. If I should give an example, it's like the project board can get a project mandate from the corporate management, saying we would like you to do this project, and it should cost between 10 and 12 million dollars or whatever you work in. And then the project board can delegate the work to the project manager and reduce the tolerances a bit and see you can do the next stage, or this project needs to be done between 10 and 11 millions. And then the project manager can divide the project into small work packages that he can delegate to a team manager, and he can set a tolerance on that. And then the idea is, as long as you can deliver within your tolerances, you should just do the work. And if you go exceed the tolerances, or you can foresee that you will exceed it, you should make an exception and talk with the upper management level. Then number 6 is focus on projects. I've already talked about a bit about that. And then number 7 is really good. That's tailored to suit the project environment. I learned project management by just trying to do it, and then I worked in a big IT department, and then they found out that we need some kind of project management, and then we got a model a bit like PRINCE2, where there was everything in it. You need to make a stage plan, you need to make risk analysis, you need to make stakeholder analysis, and there was a lot of things that you need to do. And because I was new to it, I tried to do everything, and then you nearly get nothing done, because there's a lot of work to do then. But tailored to suit the project environment, take a bit different angle on it. It tells you that you should look at your project, and then you should look in your manual, the PRINCE2 manual, and say, what would be good to use in this project? And then you can just pick whatever you think is suitable. So this was the 7 principles. I will move on to the themes. And the first one is business case. We've already talked a bit about that, but this theme just elaborate on that. And then there's the organization, describe how the project is organized, where you have a corporate level, you have a level, the project board level, the project manager, and then beneath it you have the team manager level. And then there is a theme about plans, telling you how to do the plans. And then there's a theme about risk, and they actually divide risk into 2 different kind of risks. There's the good ones and the bad ones. They call them threats and opportunities. I think that's smart. And then a very important theme, change. It was a bit related to the stuff I told you about before. If you change the scope, then of course you need to change some of the other variables, and you also need to keep track of all the changes. And then a very important theme called progress. When you manage the project, you need to keep track of the progress. Here's 7 processes. When you just look on it, it looks a bit complicated, but I can just show you this figure from the manual, and it looks more simple. It's actually you can see here the management level, the directing, that's done by the project board, the managing, that's done by the project manager, and the delivering, that's done by the team manager. And then you can see who's using the different processes. And a PRINCE2 project always start with a small pre-project, and that's just the most important things in that process is you need to find out who's project board executive, who owns the business case, and then you need to find out who's the project manager. And then after that, there's the initiation stage, where you start finding out how you're actually going to do this project. If you're building a house, you start making the blueprints, and finding some contractors that can build it and get all the paperwork ready. And then when you are with the next gate here between initiation and the next stage, you ask the project board, or when I say you, I mean the project manager. You ask, can I do this project? And if they say yes, then you continue. And then you can see there's a S here. There are some subsequent stages. There can be one or more stages. It's really up to the project how you can plan it. And when you have done them, there's this final delivery stage where you do the last delivery. So that's really how simple it is. And then there's a lot of guides in these processes on how to do it, and you can see that they use, for example, controlling estates. They use it two times, and managing project delivery, they use it 2 times, and this one, it's called managing state boundaries, is used here and here. So they're just trying to reuse all the good thoughts several times. So that was that about processes. And this is the last slide of this presentation. I just want to thank you for listening, and I hope you gained some knowledge from it. Bye bye.